Everything arrived at Singapore, they came on. Check them.
Magda جاهزة سريع like this logic تقدر تركب سريع مركز سريع مركز سريع
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So we discussed just briefly again before we bring up to speed, before we start. Remember, we said that when a person it becomes a ma'zura, you will make a fresh wudu for every salah time, right? So here there's some ikhtilaf within the Hanafi madhab as well, that once you've made a fresh wudu, once you have made a fresh wudu for the salah time, when does that wudu expire? Does it expire with the entrance of a new salah time or with the exit of the old salah time? So generally, normally when one salah time come out, another salah time come in. So there's no ikhtilaf. The ikhtilaf comes about if you look at with the rising of sun. That is the exit time of one salah time, but is not the entry time of another salah time. Then also, if you look at the entry time of Zohr, the entry time of Zohr is what? It is the entry of one Salah time, but it's not the exit of another Salah time. So these two times you will find an ikhtilaf, right? Or you'll find a difference of opinion. Just see there. Inda Abi Hanifata wa Muhammadin wa bidukhulil waqt, وحاصل أن طهارة المعذور تنتقض بخروج الوقت بالحدث السابق, right? We have to just mention it again so you're up to speed. That according to Imam Abu Hanifa, that we say تنتقض بخروج الوقت, when a salat time comes out, right? Right. Well, that's in Abi Hanifa wa Muhammad. Well, just remember it nicely now because it come to you when the salat time comes out, right? Then in Abi Hanifa Muhammad wa bi dukhul al-waqti in the dhufrin, but with the entry of another salat time, right? Wa bi ayyi ma kana in the Abi Hanifa bi Yusuf, and according to Imam Yusuf, whether salat time is coming in or out doesn't matter, right? It will break both times, right? So I told you there's two times where where we see the samaratul ikhtilaf, the result of the difference of opinion. وفائل الاختلاف, right, we say فائدة الاختلاف means the benefit, the fruit, the manifestation of the difference. لا تظهر ولا become apparent إلا في من توضأ, that person who made wudu قبل الزوال, he made wudu before zawal, right? قبل الزوال كما ذكرنا, like I mentioned, أو قبل طلوع الشمس, or before the rising of the sun. So, see, لزفر أن اعتبار الطهارة مع المنافي, right? You see what the message here? Maybe the page is not right. Wrong page we are. Just get the right page. So see what Imam Zufar said. Just check again, Imam Zufar. وَبِدُخُولِ الْوَقْتِ إِنَّ ظُفَرْ what? Imam Zufar said with the entry time of Salat. When a new time enters, right? Now, see there? So just to understand by way of example, let's look at the time between sunrise and zawal. Let's look at the time between sunrise and zawal. So if a person made wudu hypothetically after sunrise, right? He made wudu after sunrise, right? So what Imam said, وَبِدُخُولِ الْوَقْتِ إِنْدَ زُفْرٍ, with the entry of a new time, then the wudu will become nullified, right? So when Zohr time comes in, according to Imam Zufar, rahimallahu ta'ala, that wudu will be nullified. They have to make a new wudu, right? Are you with me so far? See there. So we said وأن اعتبار الطهارة, that the consideration of طهارة مع المنافي. This is reasoning now. Despite there be a munafi, a thing that comes to nullify للحاجة في الأداء, is because of a necessity to. A person why? Because there's necessity to charge a salat, right? And so I'm saying, if you're going to say that person who's bleeding or the pilat or riyah, whatever it is, if you're going to say that every time the wind comes out or every time that the charge comes out, wudu is broken, what is going to happen? That person is going to have difficulty. They won't be able to read their salah. So it's based upon necessity. If we do not accept the necessity, it's going to be a great deal of difficulty, right? So this is the first point you're making here. See there. He's saying, Anna i'tibar taharati, the consideration for the tahara to be valid, ma'al munafi, despite the breaker being there, right? Fil hajati is because it is of the need ila al-ada to discharge it, right? Now he's saying, wala hajata qabla al-waqti. Now he's saying, look here, by looking at the example that we're discussing, that a person made wudu before Zohar. What a person made wudu? He made wudu in the time before Zohar. What he done? He made wudu in the time before Zohar, right? So now, when the time of Zohar enters, right? Right? Once the time is over, of what you can say the time before, there's real no need. Let's not take that example. Let's take another example. Another message come through here. Still on the wrong page, they say. Just check it, double check, please. How are you? Right. Have you got the right page? Let me see where is it. Yeah, okay, perfect. You're on the right page. So see what Imam Zufar is saying, follow nicely. That the whole idea why we consider your wudu valid or why we consider your wudu not broken is because there's a need for you to discharge the ibadat. Are you with me? Now, when a time of salat goes out, what need is there? There's no more need. When the time of salat goes out, it means the salat time is over already. So that means the need is also over. You understand what I'm saying? You sure you got that? He says here, وَلَا حَاجَةَ قَبْلَ الْوَقْتِ. So when the time of Salat went out, so just say, let's look at example of Zohar and Asr, right? So what he's saying, I'll explain it again first and then I'll fit it into the kitab. See, when you made wudu Zohar time, right? And now Asr time is coming in, right? So in the time of Asr, you need the wudu to discharge the Asr time, right? But while you are in Zohar time, Asr is not yet wajib upon you. What? Asr is not wajib upon you. And if asr is not wajib upon you, what is the need for you to have the what is the need for you to have the wudu for asr in the time of zuhr? You don't need it. So when the time of zuhr finishes, the need to read your Zohar is also finished. The need to read your Zohar is also finished. So that wudu that allowed you to read your Zohar namaz, its time is finished, so its need is finished, so it must also expire. You understood that? So again, I'll say it again because this is a bit of a tricky bar. Say, Smetori si pechid kiye. I'll explain it part again. What he's saying is this here, that the whole idea for your wudu not to be nullified despite the breaker found there is so that you must discharge the salat of that time. And once that time has expired, then it naturally follows that with the coming out of the time, that wudu must also be expired. You understood that? So that's what he's saying. See now. Anna i'tibarat taharati, the consideration for it to be valid طهارة اعتباره مع المنافي despite the breaker في الحاجة. Yeah, it is in the need to discharge. That means it is because of the need to discharge it. ولا حاجة قبل الوقت. But before the time of Asr came in, there's no need to have that wudu. So that wudu will expire, the Zohar wudu will expire. You understand? ولا حاجة قبل فلا تعتبر. Hence, the wudu of Zohar will not be considered valid for Asr. The moment we transition over from Zohar to Asr, it will become expired. You understood that? Then remember, we said, according to Imam Yusuf, he said, whether you're entering a time or exiting a time, both times wudu will break, right? So that means with the rising of the sun and with the sun passing his zenith, both times wudu will expire. I hope people are understanding. Yes. So here we're telling you according to Imam. So the question here, so according to Imam Yusuf, Imam Zufar, when the time goes out, then the salat time will expire. According to Imam Yusuf, both when it comes in and out. But the fatwa is on the call of Imam Abu Hanifa. And what is it? When a new salat time enters, ne? Carry on reading there. When a new, just remember that don't get confused. We mustn't get confused in the ikhtilaf and miss actually what the fatwa is. The fatwa is when a new salat time enters, then it will break. Carry on from there, Wali Abu Yusuf. Yeah, pretty simple, Imam Yusuf. He say, remember the fatwa is not on the right. What Abu Yusuf, rahmatullah, أن الحاجة, the need, مقصورة على الوقت. You need to read Zohar in Zohar time. You need to read Asr in Asr time, right? So, because you need to read Zohar in Zohar time, you need to read Asr in Asr time. So, the validity of the Salah will be restricted to that time. Whether you're leaving that time or you're entering a new time, it will lapse. فَلَا يُعْتَبَرُ. So, if you made Zohar wudu in Zohar time, it is there for the Zohar time. Once Zohar is finished, it's over. If you made wudu in the time, the gray area between sunrise and sunset, so that time is over. Right? So you don't need it for your Fajr anymore. So there you don't have, when the rising of the sun, it becomes invalid. And then when the new time of Zohar comes in, so you don't need that wudu, for the area, the time before that, which is Salatul Duha, Salatul Ishraq, so that wudu will become invalid. That's what he's saying. فَلَا يُعْتَبَرُ قَبْلَهُ وَلَا بَعْدَهُ. Read the next ibarat. Yeah. So remember what was the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa? Listen nicely. This is what the fatwa is on. Imam Abu Hanifa and Muhammad is what? That wudu will break with the with what? Khurujul waqti, right? See, there, see, وحاصل أن تعرض وتنتقد بخروج الوقت. So why they say with the خروج الوقت? They say, look here, لابد من تقديم الوقت ليتمكن من الأداء كما دخل الوقت. They say, look here, you need, once the time of salat enters, right? You need to make wudu. You must be able to make wudu immediately. You must be able to make wudu and immediately. So the only way you can make wudu immediately, the moment the time is when a salat time came out. So when the Zohr time came out, right? There's it there. بخروج الوقت. So when Zohr time came out, that means the Zohr wudu now is finished, right? So now you can make a fresh wudu in the Asr time and you can read it immediately. So see there, لا بد من تقديم الطهارة. So it is necessary that you must be able to make taharat before the time, right? Before the entry time. Why? Before the time enters, right? ليتمكن من الأداء. So that you can discharge it immediately. كما دخل الوقت دليل زوال الحاجة. And the coming out of the time is a proof, right? To say that now you don't need it anymore. What is it? وخروج, and the time came out, so you don't need us anymore. You needed it in the time. So when the time come out, it shows there's no more need for it, right? فظهر اعتبار الحدث. So the hadath that was there earlier, it will manifest itself immediately there because there's no more need for it. The time has now come out. So, so since the time has come out now, uh, you needed that wudu the moment the time came in. It was a necessity, and now the time has come out, right? Then you can, you just have to make wudu when the time come out, right? So that would mean if you, yeah, this answers the question here also. If you make wudu um, for Fajr, right? And then the sun rose. So would after the sun rose, will that be valid? It won't be valid. Why? Because it is a salat time that came out. So you'll have to make a fresh wudu for your ishraq namaz. You have to make a fresh wudu for your Quran. One wudu for that. Or whether you're making ishraq namaz or whether you're reading Quran. Yes. And then you will go right to Zohr. And then when Zohr come in, that wudu will last you according to Hanifa. Why? Because now Salat time is coming out. Now Salat time is coming out. According to Imam Zufar, he said, Dukhulul waqt, so a new waqt is coming in. So there you'll have to make a fresh wudu. And according to Imam Yusuf, rahimahullah ta'ala, where the Salat time is coming in or out, you'll have to make a fresh wudu. So according to Imam Yusuf, when the sun rises, you'll have to make a fresh wudu, even wudu. And when the sun touch passes its zenith, you have to make a fresh wudu. I hope that answers your question. If anything is not clear, please let us know. I hope that answers your question. Right. So they say see there, Imam Abu Hanifa says, see there, بخروج وحاصل أن طهارة المعذور تنتقض بخروج الوقت بالحدث السابق إن أبي حنيفة وأبو يوسف. And we gave the reasoning there. There's the reason. There's it. He says what Imam Hanifa says. لا بد من تقديم الطهارة الوقت. It is necessary that you have your taharat before the time, right? So the only way you can have it before the time, you say, is only with the coming out of a waqt. So like Zohr namaz, no time is coming out, so you can have wudu before the time. So the moment the Zohr time coming, you can start immediately. You understood that? لابد من تقديم الطهارة الوقت ليتمكن من الأداء, so that you can read your salah immediately once the time come in, right? And then that's the one reason. وخروج الوقت, and the second reason, the coming out of the time, دليل, is a proof. زوال الحاجة, to say there's no more need for this here now. وظهر اعتبار الحدث, so because the need that was there, it is not there anymore. So the previous hadith will come now into effect and will nullify your wudu. So in simple words, just we repeat it again, according to Imam Hanifa and Imam Muhammad rahimahullah ta'ala, with the exiting of a time. According to Imam Zufar, with the entry of a time. According to Imam Yusuf, with the entry and the exit of the time. And the samaratul ikhtilaf only manifests itself between the time of sunrise and zawal. So just to apply it again, so according to Imam Yusuf, a time is coming out, so wudu is gone. According to Imam Zufar, a time is coming out, wudu is not gone. Why? Because you can only with the entry time, no salah, it is a time is entering. According to Imam Hanifa, a time is coming out, and that is what? That is Fajr time is coming out, so you'll have to make a fresh wudu after sunrise. If you look at the next bar, it actually explains وَالْمُرَادُ بِالْوَقْتِ وَقْتُ الْمَفْرُودَةِ. So when we speak about a time coming in, a time coming out, etc., we speak about a first time. Because if you look at the time between sunrise and zawal, this is not a first time. Although you got Ishraq namaz there, then later on you got what you got. Um, you got Salatul Duha, whatever, but it's not a first time. So when we speak about entry time, exit time, we only speak about entry and exit time of a first salah. وَالْمُرَادُ بِالْوَقْتِ وَقْتُ الْمَفْرُوضَةِ. So the intended thing by time is the time of a first salah. And just understood, حتى لو توضأ المعذور. Yeah, also you understand this now. We just passed it. حتى to such لو توضأ المعذور. أي معذور ما الوضوء لصلاة العيد for صلاة العيد. Men or even a woman, she was reading Eid Namaz, she was at a place where they read Namaz, right? لو توضأ المعذور لصلاة العيد. So then له لها أن يصلي الظهر به. For her, for him, it is permissible that they read the Dhuhr Namaz in Dahuma, according to Imam Abu Hanifa and according to Imam Muhammad. Why? Because we said only with the exit of a Faras Salah does the wudu break. Are you with me? وهو الصحيح, and I mentioned earlier, وهو الصحيح, that is the fatwa. The fatwas on it. So I just want to repeat, sometimes we shouldn't miss the main essence or what the fatwa is because of the ikhtilafat. So remember, the fatwa in the Hanafi madhab is this. Why? Because the fatwa is only with the exit of a faras time. So if you made wudu for Eid namaz, or you made wudu for Salatul Duha, or you made wudu for Salatul Ishraq, or here's a question, but they must have done that wudu for just Eid, right? And not the Fajr Isra. Yes, according to the Hanafi madhab, if they made a wudu, I mean, according to the fatwa, which is it's wudu breaks with the coming out of the time. If that person was ma'zura, then they had to make a fresh wudu for Eid. That's wudu wouldn't last till Eid. The Fajr wudu wouldn't last till Eid, right? Because why? Because obviously Eid is about minimum 20 minutes after sunrise, so it is coming out of the Fajr time, so it's a different time. And according to the fatwa, which is Imam Hanifa, بخروج الوقت ليست وحاصل أن الطهارة المعذورة تنتقض بخروج الوقت بالحدث السابق. So to answer your question, yeah, it has to be a separate. The question is, but they must have done wudu for just Eid, right? And not Fajr and Isra. Yes, it has to be for Eid only because the fatwa is you have to make a separate wudu for Eid namaz because Eid is after the time of Fajr. I hope that answers your question. So you are right, it must be a separate wudu because the Fajr wudu wouldn't be valid for the Eid namaz. Does it answer your question? Hope so. If it doesn't, just let me know, inshallah. Okay. So they're saying, see, لأنها بمنزل صلاة الضحى, that each salah is in the same category as Salatul Duha. Although Duha is nafil or mustahab, whatever, and each salah is wajib, but it's the same, similar in the sense that it's not a farad salah. It is similar in the sense it's not a farad salah. And only with the coming out of a farad salah at time is your wudu negated. You understand what I'm saying? So whether you made salah for salat, or you made wudu for Salatul Duha, or whether you made wudu for Eid namaz, whatever. The basic bottom line is because it's not a farz salah. So when the zenith, when it passes the zawal, there's no khuruj al-waqt. There is dukhul al-waqt. And according to Imam Hanifa and Imam Muhammad, which the fatwa is on, wudu will only break with khuruj al-waqt, right? Not dukhul al-waqt. So technically speaking, so to repeat now, that wudu that you made fajr time, you can't read your Eid namaz with it. Right? But the wudu you made for Eid namaz, if there was no other break of wudu, only to uzur phone, then you can read your Zohar namaz with it. Is that clear, Luqman? You sure, right? See, ولو توضأ مرة للظهر في وقته. If a person made wudu one time in the time of Zuhr, وأخرى في للعصر and a time in the Asr, فإنهما ليس لا يصلي العصر به. According to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Muhammad, you can't read Asr with namaz. See, مرتني الظهري في وقتي وأخرى في الأسر. In Zohr time, you made wudu for Zohr and Asr, it will not be valid. Why? Because when Zohr time finishes, you enter what? You enter Asr time, and so with the coming out of one work, you enter another work. Like they say, the waqtu, when the one waqtu is finished, you go into the other waqtu. So automatically, when you come out of one waqtu, you're coming out of Zohr and you're going to Asr, it will break. Why? لِإِنْتِقَاضِهِ, because of its nullification بِخُرُوجِ الْوَقْتِ الْمَفْرُوضَةِ, by the ending of one farz waqt and going to another waqt, right? Now, okay, so I hope that's clear. Now that's finished. If it's not clear, please not hesitate. We can discuss that again, right? Now we're moving to something else. They're giving you, I explained you already what is the ta'rif of a ma'zura. Now, interesting thing here for those that are discussed, those who do fiqh and they know fiqh, normally in the kitabs, they use the word mustahadha. They don't use the word ma'zura or ma'zur. Why? Because maybe the most common ma'zur is a mustahadha. You understand what I'm saying? You with me? So this law doesn't only applies to a mustahada, especially in the Hanafi fiqh. It refers to any ma'zura, but it is expressed in the words of mustahada. Right? Are you with me? Are you sure on that? So when we say mustahada too, the one who is a mustahada, we don't only mean a mustahada, a woman that starts charging from the front. We mean any person who is experiencing a constant breaker of wudu to such an extent they cannot make wudu until that happens to them. They experience it breaker. You understood that? So see there, well mustahadatu, and I told you can say take it to mean well ma'zur or ma'zura. Here lati, this is the definition which I explained you before. That for one complete salat time, if Zohar enters at 12 o'clock and finishes at 2 o'clock, then from 12 till 2, for the full 3 hours, there mustn't be a 6 months or more unless that previous person experienced a breaker, whatever it is, whether it is in urine incontinence, whether it is discharge from the front organ, whether it is wind, or Allah Ta'ala protect, even if it is whether it is a running stomach, it comes out, whatever it is, it must be for there mustn't be a window period of more than 5 or 6 minutes where you can make wudu and do that. So here, like I told you, just those who are into fiqh, really, that know fiqh, you'll see in the Hanafi books, normally, when they say mustahada to here like this, they mean a ma'zura, whatever, right? So remember that. And that is why, just remember, if you're looking for the masail of ma'zura, look in the chapter of Hayd and look in the chapter of istihada, you'll find the masail of ma'zur, right? Wal mustahadatu, right? The mustahada here that it is the one لا يمضي عليها وقت صلاة, that a complete salat time does not pass إلا والحدث التي, except the hadath, the break of wudu, الذي أبتليت به, the one that you are tested with, يوجد فيه, it's found. It means, like I told you, there's not enough time to read that prayer except it's found, right? وكذا كله, there's it now. Although I told you it's explained as a musahada, which is a woman that has discharge from the front, but it means any breaker. And there's an understood from the next about وكذا كل من فيها وكذا كل من في معناه, like that anyone who has the same problem, where no matter what it is, وهو من ذكرنا, it is what we mentioned. What's the problem? You have this continued right. ومن به, and who it is with him, استطلاق البطن. استطلاق means to loose. They say istidlaq al-batn means loose stomach, like how we also say sometimes here, loose stool, right? One filatu rihin, and the discharging of gases continuously. Why? لأن ضرورة. Why are you saying? Why will the same law of the mustahada apply to all the other breakers? Why? Because like there's necessity in the mustahada. She's got difficulty. She can't even read salah. She expects, except that she experiences the breaker. So there's necessity. It's based on necessity. So like how that necessity is there for her, and that necessity creates some type of leeway. Same way the person who's got constant wind problem or got constant bleeding, you got a wound, the same necessity is also found there. So because the same necessity is also found there, the same must now be applicable there also. You know what I'm saying? Basically, because the necessity, right? I told you, I mentioned this is also another principle you done in fiqh, where إذا ضاق when something becomes very, very difficult, then Shariat naturally creates some expense. So imagine there's hardly 6 minutes for a person to make wudu. You must run, make wudu again. Then you say, hey, the blood came out again, and you run to make wudu again. How many times are you going to make wudu? So because of the difficulty, إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع. In a matter, another one, الحرج مدفوع. The difficulty is repelled. So they're saying the same difficulty that a mustahada experiences, the person who got a urine incontinence, the person who got a problem of gas, etc., is all found in him. That's another يتحقق is also established, right in them. ويتعم القول, hence the law or the latitude or what's the right word? The concession, yeah. So the concession will cover all of them. The concession will cover all of them. So alhamdulillah, that brings us to the end of the chapter of istihada, etc. So the next we're going to do is the chapter of nifas. So I was wondering maybe tomorrow or maybe when we finish nifas, I still want to discuss to you the different vaginal discharges and the latitude that is found in the Hanafi madhab that we were not aware of. All the time we should think anything that comes out from the front organ of a woman, it nullifies the wudu, but it's not like that. There is some latitude in the masla. So I remember when this Musa gained traction when we were in Madrasa, because we doing Ifta in 2001, most of the ladies were shocked when they saw this Musa. There's some type of latitude with regards to vaginal discharge. It doesn't mean anything that everything that comes out of a front organ of a lady nullifies a wudu, but maybe tomorrow we'll do it before we start the next chapter, but at least when we finish the last chapter, inshallah. Plus, subhanAllah.